I'm not saying you can't sit there, Big. I'm just saying be careful. Don't get your buns all toasty and sit by the fire. After all, we are going to do our fireside read again this year. And oh, they're here. Oh, hi guys! It's me, Santa Shaggy, and I'm sitting here by the fireplace with my buddy Bing, and we're getting ready to do our traditional fireside read like we've done in the last couple of years. We were actually requested this book last year, but we read something else. I'm going to scoot closer to the fire. Uh, so this year we decided we're going to go ahead and do it. And what book is that? It's none other than the classic How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. It's a good one. I like it a lot. Well, I'm going to go ahead and read this now. And you guys, I'll hold the pictures up so you can see them. And we'll all read along, won't we, Big? It says, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Okay, here we go. Open the page. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. And there's the Grinch right there. Oh, yeah. Dedicated to for Teddy Owens. It's got a little who there. Yeah. Here we go. Every who down at Whoville loved Christmas a lot. But the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But, whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve just hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging the mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must stop it. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the Who's girls and boys would wake up bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then oh the noise, noise. That's one thing he hated was the noise. Looks like they're having a good time right there. Then the Who, young and old, would sit down and feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which is something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. Wow, that's a big dinner table. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together and with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with this now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. He's thinking. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. And he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and chuckled. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around. But since reindeer were scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, "If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead." So he called his dog Max, and then he took a red thread, and he tied up a big horn to the top of his head. There he is, poor Max, tying the horn to his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh he had hitched up to Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay snoozing in the town. There they go. They're heading down to Whoville. All the windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. Then he came to the first little house on the square. "This is the stop number 1," the Grinch said. The Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof and empty bags in his fist. There he goes. He's going down the chimney. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue. There was a little Who's stockings, all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." There he goes. He's pulling the stockings down. Then he slithered and he slunk, while with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present: pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. He stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. There he goes, sticking them up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quickly as a flash. Why that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. Boy, getting tongue-tied a little bit. Then he stuffed all the food in the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." And the Grinch drove the tree and started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who wasn't more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one spot, on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child, then he patted her head. He gave her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Now the last thing he took was a log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, that old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for other Who mouses. It was 1/4 past dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up the sled. Packed it up with their presents, their ribbons and wrappings, their tags and their tinsel, the trimmings and trappings. There's a lot of stuff on that sleigh. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he took his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-hoo to the Who's, he grinchishly humming. They're finding out now, no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. Oh, he's about to dump it. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound ringing over the snow. It started out low, but then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down to Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was shocking surprise. Oh, he's shocked right there. That's for sure. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, till this puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. Looks really confused there. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed it with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. That's it. Wow. Isn't that cool how he became a good guy in the end? I just love the ending of that story. I know some people don't like this story because they don't get very far into it. They don't realize that, in fact, my boss, Santa Claus, he doesn't get very far into it to realize that the Grinch actually becomes a good guy in the end. Yeah, I like that story. Thank you guys for listening. And hopefully you guys are having a Merry Christmas. I know it's getting close to midnight, so Santa Claus should be coming down my chimney after a while. Later on this evening, he should be coming down my chimney. So you guys keep doing what you're doing. We're going to check in with Santa Claus here shortly. Until then, I shall see ya. Shaggy out. What? That's how I always end them. You can do it too if you want. Yeah. Bye-bye.